day's a day, a bad luck's always a coming my way.
Pretty cool day here in Chicago, but today we're going to be telling you a ghost story. We're starting off at the Resurrection Cemetery, telling the story of Chicago's most famous ghost, Resurrection Mary.
Probably the best known of Chicago area ghosts is Resurrection Mary. She periodically appears along Archer Avenue here at Resurrection Cemetery in southwest suburban Justice. To get a more detailed look at the legend of Resurrection Mary, I visited the cemetery with a guy who bills himself as a real-life ghost hunter, Dale Kaczmarek. When he's not looking for ectoplasm, he works at a warehouse loading frozen food on the graveyard shift. The Resurrection Mary apparitions began back in the 30s after a young woman was killed by a hit-and-run driver on Archer Avenue. So the stories say. There are numerous tales of a woman in a white robe baffling motorists. Dale Kaczmarek says she even bent the cemetery gate.
Now, these two bars here were discovered bent apart, and impressions of skin texture marks, fingerprints, and scorch marks were on the bars. This was reported back in August of 1976 by a man who was traveling down Archer Avenue and saw a girl apparently locked in the cemetery after hours. When the police officer responded to the call, he found the bars pulled apart and bent at a very weird angle.
He also conducts tours of ghostly sites for $20 a customer. He showed me one of the tour stops, 95th and Keene on the edge of Palos Hills. Animal ghosts, he says, show up here, phantom horses and riders.
There's many reports of all types of ghostly animals all around the Chicagoland area. Phantom horses, phantom dogs. And there was actually substantiated reports in recent years of a rash of phantom kangaroos.
Well, whether you believe in ghosts or not, if there are going to be any ghosts around, this would be the night they would be out there. Like the guy in the song says, I ain't afraid of no ghosts, but I'm going to get out of these spooky old woods anyway. On the far south side, this is Bob Wallace, ghost hunting for Channel 2 News. Hey, wait a minute, don't look now, but those leaves behind me are moving. Woo!
Now, when I say that Resurrection Mary is Chicago's most famous ghost story, I'm not kidding. When people find out that we're coming here, everybody always asks, are you going to be telling the story of Resurrection Mary? Well, today we are. And we've done a lot of research on the legend, the lore, the ghost story, and who she really is.
I just saw a goose slide across the ice and fall down. I never thought I'd see that before.
Now, baby girl, what do you know about the story of Resurrection Mary?
I know that she's a variation of the woman in white, in the sense that she, I believe, is dressed in white, walking on the side of the road. People pick her up to give her a lift, and then poof, she's gone once she reaches a certain destination.
Now, baby girl, we're fans of Supernatural. And in the series, Supernatural, they do talk a lot about ghost stories and legends and lore, right?
Mm-hmm.
They do an episode on the Lady in White.
A version of it, yeah.
So if you've heard anything, what is it?
Well, it's just, I mean, with all these guys going missing, people talk.
What do they talk about?
It's kind of this local legend. This one girl, she got murdered out on Centennial, like decades ago. Well, supposedly she's still out there. She hitchhikes, and whoever picks her up, well, they disappear forever.
Baby girl, how you surviving the cold, the Chicago cold?
I think my spirit has left my body.
Yeah, this is pretty.
I'm gonna go hang out with Mary.
What's that?
I'm gonna go hang out with Mary.
Hey, maybe you could be part of the Chicago ghost stories then. When it comes to the ghost story, the legend, the lore, the cemetery and the ballroom are actually about 4 miles apart from each other. Now, in the legend, Chicago history, the ballroom was known as the O. Henry Ballroom, and over the years since the 30s, it burned down twice. Eventually, new owners bought it and they turned it into what was known as the Willowbrook Ballroom. Like, people would come here, they'd get married, it was a banquet hall. And they were doing renovations on the roof. And supposedly they were using blowtorches and the building burned down. It's no longer here. Now let's say the story of Resurrection Mary is true, and at one point right across the road here, Archer Road, is where the Willowbrook Ballroom once stood, the old O. Henry Ballroom. On that night in the 30s, a woman by the name of Mary would have walked in or came out that front door, storming in some stories, and started walking down the road. I'm guessing towards that way, because in the legend, she's picked up and they take off down the road, and when they get to the cemetery gates, that's when she disappears. And that's down that road right there. Like I said, over the years, a lot of people have been trying to find the identity of Mary, and there's quite a few different people that they thought over the years, but when it comes down to it, there's two people that Mary could be, and we're going to visit the graves of those two people. But before we do that, I want to show you there's a bar that's right on Archer Avenue, right across the street from the cemetery, known as Chet's Melody Lounge. And they do something a little special for Mary every week, every Sunday.
Okay, yeah, how you doing? My name's Rich.
Hi, Rich.
Krasinski. How you doing, Michael? And you're at Chet's Melody Lounge. Chet was my father. He opened up in 1965.
Okay.
And we've got the Legend of Resurrection Mary, so we've put her on our t-shirt. The back is our original logo.
Let's see the back.
Before Resurrection Mary became a popular thing.
See, I like that.
And that was our original logo that we had since the 1960s. And then this is more from the 70s, after the Legend of Resurrection Mary became well known, a little more nationwide,
Yeah.
I guess. So
When we first got here, we were asking you, I'm sorry, we just kind of came in unannounced and was like, hey, what about this Bloody Mary that you guys used to do? Tell us about that.
It got to be where we decided that if Mary ever did want to stop in and have a drink, she would probably have a Bloody Mary. So we decided to start putting a Bloody Mary out, and we did it every day for years and years and years and years. Then we started doing it just through Halloween, because it was a little more of the feeling of she might just appear with Resurrection Cemetery, where she is buried, is across the street. So we really felt that putting a Bloody Mary out around Halloween through the month of October would be a generous offering to her if she just happened to want it. She was welcome to it anytime she wanted it.
Like
and a few of them have disappeared. So a few of those drinks have, actually the glass has been emptied when people left. So.
Now you were saying that it would usually be down here, right?
We used to always put it at the end of the bar. And since it did disappear so often, mysteriously, we started putting it behind the bar. And right now we're getting ready for Christmas. But there's room on the ledge, yeah. So we start putting it there.
Whether you believe or not, what do you think you would do if you ever ran into Resurrection Mary?
Ask her if she would like a drink.
Yeah.
First of all, because you're in a bar. She, I guess, would be easy to pick out in a crowd, because everyone that's ever seen her said that she's in like a white prom dress. So a white prom dress. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed Polish girl. Yeah. Supposed to be very pretty. So I guess I'd have to card her first if she was only 18 leaving the prom. But she could have a soda or a Bloody Mary, a Virgin Mary.
I'd definitely give her a ride home if she wanted one, but I'd try to get a dance with her first.
Yeah, definitely offer her a ride. I would definitely offer, because that's what most people seem to do, and that's the story of her getting in a car and being gone without the door opening. So that's the whole legend, is that when she's in the car, when they go past the gates, she'll just say stop, and then she's gone, and the door never opens. And people do see her and pick her up, and she disappears without the door opening. So.
But this is beautiful. You know what? Jessica and I were just talking about driving up here and filming this, that we really love filming in this kind of environment, this kind of color scheme, instead of it being summer with, you know, green trees, leaves everywhere. Well, right now we're walking through the cemetery. Thousands of people have been buried here over the years, and we're trying to find the grave of Mary Bregovy, who died in 1934. And Jessica's playing in the leaves. Now, Mary Bregovy, even though a lot of people think that that is the identity of Mary, it doesn't really make sense. Yes, she died in an automobile accident, but she actually died in the Chicago Loop, downtown Chicago, nowhere near here. That, and also the ghost stories, everybody talks about a woman dressed in white with long, light blonde hair, and Mary Bregovy, she had short brown hair or black hair. But she's here, but she died right around the same exact time in an automobile accident. So even though it doesn't really match up, I think it's part of the story. Baby Goal, I feel like it's been a long time since we've seen this many crispy leaves in a cemetery. It's a beautiful, cold day, but beautiful here in Chicago. She's having way too much fun. I'm not gonna be able to get her out of here. You probably can't hear it on the camera, but there are church bells off in the distance. And it has taken us quite some time out here in the cold to locate the grave of Mary, especially since she's in an unmarked grave next to her parents, and Jessica's standing right where she's buried. The two stones to the right of your screen, that's Mary's mother and father. And like I said, she's in an unmarked grave just to the left of them. Now the thing about this, there are pictures of Mary. There is record of her death. It was in a newspaper. And from eyewitness accounts of the ghost, it looks absolutely nothing like her. It just so happens that her name is Mary. She's here in the cemetery, and she died in a car accident, but nowhere near here. I'm talking like maybe 30 minutes away in downtown Chicago. Now this is her father, Stefan Bregovy. There's no dates on here. And that's it. And right next to him is her mother, Johanna Bregovy, 1888 to 1945. And this is Mary's final resting place.
There is such a matchup of information on the Find a Grave for a Mary Bregovy that it's hard to piece apart what is actually true and what part of the story goes to which person that is buried here. Technically, it looks like they're combining photographs, graves, and grave sites of 3 different people under that one listing. So that just goes to show it's a bit of like a I heard a rumor game, where as the tale goes on, everyone goes, oh, I've heard about this, and seeks out the one Mary in this location. But we're here to see the unmarked grave, and that's where we're standing.
For years, everybody thought that this Mary was Resurrection Mary, but everybody's doing research. Everybody wants to know. Everybody kind of wants to crack the code of who she was. And relatively recently, I do believe, somebody came up with the idea of the identity of Resurrection Mary being a little girl who's technically not even buried in this cemetery. But out of everybody, she's the only one that fits the legend almost to the T. And for this, we have to go to a completely different cemetery, not too far away. But once you hear what we have to say, you're gonna be like, wait a second, it's gotta be her. The cemetery we're in right now is St. Casimir Cemetery. It's a Catholic cemetery, about 7 miles down the street from Resurrection Cemetery. And it is here where you'll find the grave, well, what is believed to be the grave of an 11-year-old girl by the name of Anna Norkus. And believe it or not, this 11-year-old girl by the name of Anna, she's the closest person that resembles Resurrection Mary. Now I say Anna was 11 years old, but some articles that you read say she was 12, others say she was 13. Some say she died in 1927, others say 1929. See what I mean? It's this legend, it's a lore, it's a ghost story. But there is a newspaper article, a little clip that talks about her death. You see, she was in an automobile accident not too far from Archer Road, near the ballroom. The story goes, her and her family were at the ballroom. They were coming home. She was celebrating her birthday, and they couldn't see it, but the car went off the road into a railroad ditch that was freshly dug, and she died, and everybody else was injured. In the photos, the only photo that we could find, the only photo that you can really see, she's wearing a white dress. She's got light blonde hair. Archer Avenue, everything kind of lines up. Now, there is a story as to why Anna isn't buried in Resurrection Cemetery.
Why is that?
Well, the death certificate actually lists that Anna is buried here in St. Casimir. But here's the thing. Supposedly, way back in the day, there was a strike amongst the gravediggers and she couldn't be buried here. So at one point, there's a very good possibility, remember, legend and lore, that her body could have been temporarily interred over in Resurrection Cemetery. I think there's only like 3 cemeteries in the area that they're actively burying people. So even though she's supposed to be here, because of the strike, she could have very well have been buried temporarily over there.
Right.
But things happen. Supposedly also, we were trying to find her grave. There is a marker here for the Norkus family, but
Yes.
she is not here, even though it says she is here. So could that be the basis of the legend? This apparition being picked up and then she disappears.
Being a little lost.
At the Resurrection Cemetery, which could be where her body is, but she's lost because she's supposed to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You follow that?
It seems there's a bit of confusion with all of the Marys so far.
Pretty wild, right?
It is, yeah.
So even though we're spinning this tale, this legend, this lore of Chicago's most famous ghost, hopefully we're making some sort of sense. I mean, the more you think about it, the more you dig into it, the more it kind of does, but then you go, wait a second. But like I said, Anna's grave, the story of Anna, this little girl who could very well be Resurrection Mary, makes the most sense. Now, even though her death certificate says she is buried in this cemetery, her family does have a plot. We're gonna find it. We're gonna try to find it. All right, baby girl, you've been doing some research, trying to find where she's at. Have you found it yet?
I haven't found her exact location yet. Sometimes when you go online, you can actually get the longitude, latitude coordinates. This one doesn't have one. And the online cemetery map is not very good. But I have found out that she is in section 11, so I'm just trying to find where section 11 is so we can go there.
And we are doing this map list.
We visit a lot of cemeteries, and this one has a feature that is one of my favorite things, and I hope to do it when we have our remembrance, and that is the little photographs of the people.
Oh, I'd love to have photos
I love
of us.
those.
So we found the Norkus family tomb, or the gravesite, I should say. And they are right here. Norkus, in loving memory. I can't read it from here, we'll get closer in a minute, but it looks like it's got the names of the family right there in front of the name. So right here on the tombstone, they have the names of all the Norkus family members. And I didn't expect this. Right over here, it says daughter Anna, 1921 to 1929. Now, I don't know where I read that she wasn't here, but I was under the impression that there's no marker for her here. But there's the marker, daughter Anna, 1921 to 1929. What many people, including me and Jessica, believe is the real Resurrection Mary. I really don't think that I have to point this out, but I'm going to. In no way are we claiming to know the true identity of Resurrection Mary. That's the fun thing about these legends, these lores, these ghost stories, is they get passed down from generation to generation, and they pick little pieces from here and little pieces from there. But I will say this. If Resurrection Mary is a real person, and if the stories, at least part of it, are true, I find it really sad that nobody really knows who she really is. What you're looking at right now is the intersection of Harlem and 66th Street. In the article written about Anna Norkus's death, it's mentioned that it happened right here, that the family car went off the road into this railroad ditch. I'm not entirely sure what that is. I'm guessing it's, they put the railroad tracks in and then they weren't paying attention, it was too dark. The car went over, her family survived, but she was crushed, she died. Now, I find it interesting. Old Harlem Road, 66th Street, railroad tracks. It's all right here. Also, in the article, it mentions that it's not too far from Argo. I couldn't figure out what that was. Well, it turns out about a block up the street is Argo High School. And that has been here for quite some time. So everything fits. And it's not that far from Resurrection Cemetery and not that far from where the ballroom was. So it is completely possible that this 11-year-old girl or 12 or 13-year-old girl, Anna Norkus, is Resurrection Mary. Her story checks out. We now find ourselves on South Neva Avenue. And according to the article of Anna Norkus's death, this is the street her and her family lived on. Now, of course, so much time has passed that all these houses weren't here. I have no idea what this street used to look like, but the houses were definitely different. But her address was 5421 Neva Avenue, N-E-V-A. And that's right up here. It's a quiet little place right next to a major street. Sometimes whenever we're filming videos like this, the homeowners would come out, somebody would come out and they would say, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you putting a camera at my house?" And I always take delight in telling them why. I was kind of hoping that somebody would come out and say, "What are you doing?" And I'd say, your house, the property where your house is, kind of has a direct tie to Resurrection Mary. Like I said, the house is definitely different. But this is it, the address, 5421. This is the house that stands here now. Now, if the story of Anna Norkus is true, and she is Resurrection Mary, it's here, not too far outside of Chicago, where she lived. The sun is almost completely gone. It's just our camera sees really good in the dark. We're back at the front gates of the Resurrection Cemetery. Tonight we're in search of Resurrection Mary herself. After talking to some of the different locals here, they all said that pretty much back in the 70s is whenever the legend really kind of took root. And over time, progress happens. And, buildings are built, roads change. You can only imagine, like back in the day, whenever the legend first started, what this road may have looked like. It might not have been this busy back then.
Just like the stories probably,
right?
I imagine, yeah.
So what we're gonna do, let's go over this way and look through, is instead of walking the street, because it looks completely different now, it's so busy, we're just gonna kind of like walk around the cemetery, just hang out and see if we can see any ghostly figure inside. That building straight ahead and about the center of your screen, that's the main office. We'll be here, well, until we see something or we get too cold, too tired, or the cops come and say, hey, you gotta leave. What were you gonna tell the cop?
If someone asks us why we're here,
yeah,
I was gonna tell them that I just have an Uber for Mary. I'm here to pick up Mary, I got an Uber for Mary. Or, hey, we're ghost hunting?
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Yeah, it's pretty chilling being here at night.
It is. Love this fence.
I don't know if we're gonna walk all the way around the property, Baby Ghoul. Maybe we'll just hang out here. Think of it this way. If somebody picks up Mary, this is pretty much where she would go. Drop off, probably.
Wonder if we can see her go in.
Going in,
yeah.
Walking.
Maybe not walking, maybe
floating,
hovering or disappearing through the gates. Never know.
Yeah, I'm pretty content with just kind of hanging out here instead of just walking around, because it is a pretty massive cemetery. And getting in the car and driving around, and there's some places where you can stop off. Like right over this way, we didn't show, I wanted to show it during the daylight, but there's a pretty big mausoleum over there. It's a beautiful cemetery, that's for sure. It doesn't look that big from right here, but there's that mausoleum I was just telling you about. The car's on the left-hand side. That's on Archer Road. But it is beautiful and peaceful on the other side of this gate. And I think that's about it. We've been here for quite some time. We walked up and down the street looking, peering into the cemetery over the fence, through the gate here, and nothing paranormal has happened. Resurrection Mary, she hasn't shown up. Nobody has gone in, nobody's come out. We've been here almost like Grimm nighttime guards here at Resurrection Cemetery.
No whispers, no messages.
Silence. The way that it should be. What do you think? You ready to go home?
Well, I think the dead talk sometimes, maybe just not to us, but my face is frozen. I can't feel my nose and my lips are on their way out. So I think I'm gonna call it a night.
With that being said, from Chicago, technically it's Justice, Illinois, but Chicago area, from Resurrection Cemetery, trying to tell this story, shed some light on Chicago's most famous ghost, Resurrection Mary. Till next time.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. That was a truck, not a ghost. Ooh, happy Halloween.
Wherever I come, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.